Hey guys, welcome back. So it's been a brutal market lately. A lot of corrections happening, and I know a lot of you guys are wondering what's actually going on. Maybe some of you are worried. So I'm here to guide you guys, give you guys a little bit of, tips and tricks to look out for. A little bit of reassurance. Of course, none of it is financial advice, but I think there's a lot to be discussed today. Okay, so let's dive right into the Bitcoin charts. So on the previous video, I was talking about this, significant green candle and how, you know, the market is trying to retest the yellow trend line that we've drawn previously here. But before we even really retested it, we had a huge pullback the day after, followed by another 2 days of retracing back to, back towards the $92,000 mark. And we talked about this multiple times, how we have to keep this in mind. Don't be surprised if this happens. We talked about how we do expect a lot of resistance around this $100,000 mark. People still may be exiting their Bitcoin positions. Um, a lot of short-term sellers, short-term traders, excuse me, might be, selling their Bitcoin. A lot of things are happening. And look at the MACD. So initially we thought, okay, well, the MACD crossed over the signal line, so maybe that's a positive outlook. And it was a fake out. So now we're downtrending again. From here, what do I expect? Well, once again, here we are, sort of around the $92,000 to $94,000 price point, which we have been hovering around since the end of December. Now, the price is really the same as it was back in November. So we really, on the larger time scale, we really have been plateauing, if you will. I mean, no significant price movement since November of last year. And some people might say, well, we're going sideways. Um, which is fair. I think it really is a lot of retesting to the upside, then retracing to the downside. And, so are some people swing trading? Well, I just don't think swing trading on what time scale. So, you're trying to see if you can enter here and exit, you know, it's hard. It's hard. So in theory, you might think, okay, well, if the market is really going sideways in a cyclical pattern, then maybe there's a good opportunity to make some money with swing trading, and whether that is every few days or on a weekly basis. But I think it's a very difficult thing to do because the idea is, well, what are you going to base your entry and exit on? So, for example, if you're using, let's just take, for example, the MACD signal, well, you would have been burned twice already with these fake outs over here. So, right now, I just, for example, my primary interest is continuing with dollar cost averaging and, holding my current position, try to get, long-term capital gains out of it. Um, and I think that's the safest way to approach this current bull cycle. So Bitcoin dominance, yeah, initially, okay, we saw a little bit of increase here, and now it's sort of thinking about going back down again. And don't get me wrong, it's been a brutal market. For example, Solana, I mean, once it retested the $187 mark, it really looked like it was going to higher highs, perhaps retesting the previous all-time high. And now we're back down. We're back down on our way to retest the $187 mark. We previously did yesterday. However, we did close above it and thereby forming this long shadow to the downside. And I imagine we're going to continue to retest the $187 mark. Now, if we continue to close above it, another good opportunity to dollar cost average. So, for example, you know, once you get paid this Friday, if you're working like salary income job, then it might be a good opportunity to buy in. Well, at least that is my plan for this week. And again, the last time I got paid, I dollar cost averaged into around the $187 mark. I believe it's a good price, depending on the bull cycle top for Solana, which some people are predicting, perhaps in the 4-digit range, so at least $1,000 plus. That is still a very good profit margin. Like I said on the previous video, I now understand that price prediction really doesn't mean anything, lightly put. I mean, I think a lot of sensible people may still come up with thesis as to why they're predicting a certain price, but I realize that for the average retail investor, it's very, very difficult to actually predict the exact price. I would say even range. I mean, I remember back in 2021, even big banks were starting to predict the price of Bitcoin for that year. I'm sure, they didn't just make up the numbers. I'm sure they're crunching the numbers. They had all these great ideas of, what the market top was going to be. Most often they ranged anywhere from 140,000 to, like 180-ish, perhaps closer to $200,000. And guess what? It never happened. We didn't even break 70,000. So, that just goes on to show you that predicting, price of a particular asset, especially cryptocurrency, is very, very difficult because we don't have a lot of data. And last time I was talking about how, for a traditional equity, you can use different valuation models and look at a lot of data points. You could even compare to similar industries which have been around for decades to predict the price or the future price of the asset. But I still think it's very difficult to achieve that in cryptocurrency just because it's still in its infancy relative to the traditional equities market. So although we could hypothesize, I really wouldn't, put all your eggs in one basket or, put your reputation on the line and say, okay, well, I, you know, for sure know that Bitcoin is going to hit X amount of dollars in this particular year. But of course, that is just my personal opinion. So, for just going back to Solana, if we consolidate around the $187 mark, I think that would be very good entry point for dollar cost averaging. If we end up breaking below $187, then it's going to be a tough start to the year. But of course, don't be surprised if that is the case. I'll continue to dollar cost average. Okay, let's move on to meme coins because it's been absolutely crushing, in a bad way, crushing to the downside in the meme coin market. I mean, let's start off with Popcat, my favorite coin. So, previously, we said, okay, well, hopefully this week we retest the blue trend line. Well, guess what? Now we're breaking down further to the downside. And at this point, now we even have a longer ways to go towards the blue trend line. I think we need to start considering some horizontal support lines over here. So just by a rough estimate, I would say that's like around 47 cents, um, which I mean, guys, that is brutal. Okay, 47 cents, and that's really the reality of meme coin, guys. So I'm just going to put like a white dashed line over here, just to keep us aware that this is sort of the mark where if we break down below this, wow, we really need to start worry um, about risk management just a little bit. Okay, I don't think the project is going to entirely fail just because we still have. It seems like there's still a strong community behind meme coins in general and Popcat, of course, as one of the larger meme coins in the space. But you never know, and that is the risk that you should be willing to take um, in the hopes of gaining big profits. So high risk, high reward. Um, let's go over dog with hat, which also has been, to a certain degree decimated, if you will. I mean, we used to hover around the $3.60 mark, and now we've we've essentially halved. So, going down 50%, I mean, are you able to handle that sort of downside price action? I mean, you really should be prepared for 70 to 80% dips during this bull cycle. And a lot of people don't have the luxury to do that. Now, if you're like me and you're basically investing an amount of money that you're, able to afford, quote unquote, to lose, um, and you're not using any leverage trading, there's zero risk of you getting margin called, then I would just patiently wait. At least that's what I'm going to be doing. But guys, if you're leverage trading, I mean, it's almost I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's very unlikely that you'll survive this market without getting margin called. Um, so please be careful. And last but not least, let's talk about Turbo. Okay, so this actually surprisingly have been holding on. Um, the price is really similar to back in October. And since October, I mean, although this is the logarithmic scale that I'm using, you can see that in large, the price has been sort of just going up and down, um, but largely sideways. And I think that's a good sign. Um, at the very least, it's not just dumping off, but I still think there's um, a lot of good things that need to happen for us to go back to the upside. Um, and perhaps that was not the right way to put it because look, we're looking at it long term, right? So, you know, like I've said before, if I'm expecting the Bitcoin top to be around September of this year, that means we still have 8 months to go. So really, there's no reason to panic because we have at least 8 months of, investing and trading that needs to happen to see real significant results. At least that is the hypothesis. So, um, you know, I'm just making sure that none of the coins are just dumping one day, but at the same time, I don't expect this to just magically go up, 1,000% in a short period of time. I really don't mind if we, sort of have these like jumps followed by, retracement, jumps, retracement, and sort of this cyclical pattern. I guess the only part where people are feeling a little bit impatient, including myself, is, um, you know, end of 2023 and most of 2024, we saw this nice pattern where a lot of people are feeling euphoric and getting this dopamine rush from seeing these large green candles. And we're not seeing that as much recently. So I think that's why people are getting a little bit impatient. But of course, I don't want you guys to worry too much. I think we'll get there, but we do have to remain a little, more patient, and I think that the time will come. Okay. All right. So thanks for listening in once again, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Okay. Bye bye.